It is a Pro Football Focus Tuesday, and join us right now on the Mattress Warehouse Hotline from PFF. Their lead draft analyst, Mike Renner, joins us. Morning, Mike.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, Mike? So, Mike, we really shouldn't be talking about the draft yet when it comes to the Washington football team and the quarterback. We're starting to think that because we're not that sold on Dwayne Haskins. What's the PFF grade on Haskins so far this season?
Yeah, in my opinion, it's never too early to start talking about the draft.
Good man.
And especially when your quarterback looks the way Dwayne Haskins looked this year. It's just not been great, and there's not a lot of encouraging signs. I'll say this weekend was probably his best game of the season, going up against a pretty tough defense in the Ravens. They throw a lot at you. For him to look, I guess, serviceable was encouraging, but again, a lot of it was when the game is already out of reach, that sort of thing. So I think you just need to see more consistency out of him. His pocket presence, his decision-making with the football, and even just his accuracy, things that you kind of take for as a given for a quarterback when you draft him in the first round, that they should be accurate with the football, has not been the case for Dwayne Haskins. So, yes, they don't have a lot of talent around him, but, I don't think the Bengals have a lot of talent around Joe Burrow right now, and he's looking pretty darn good. So, in year two, you would like to see some more steps forward from him. And if you are going to be drafting in the top 5 this year, it's a pretty darn good quarterback class. So I would think long and hard about it if I am Washington.
Can you compare and contrast him to Daniel Jones? Because he's also struggled too. Now, he has a different sort of skill set, right? He never was known to have the arm talent that Haskins allegedly has, but yet he still struggled also.
Yeah, so Jones, they're very different, like I said, in the way they play football.
Yeah.
Jones is methodical, gets the ball out of his hands quickly, is, I think, fairly accurate underneath of the football, but he just makes so many bad decisions with football. He's very callous with it when he does try to attack down the football field. I think Haskins is more hesitant to take those chances, but also I don't think he's playing with the sort of speed that you see Daniel Jones playing in terms of processing defense. He's getting the ball where it needs to go on time. Those are the things that Haskins kind of behind the 8 ball in, is the timing, playing within the rhythm of the offense, that sort of thing.
Is either one a potential, long-term starter?
I mean, they still are. I think you saw Josh Allen take a massive, massive leap going from year 2 to year 3. I do think everyone's developmental curve is different, but it's also one of those things where how long at least do you want to give a guy? Do you want to have Mitchell Trubisky where you're benching him year 4, right in the middle of the season? Do you want, to put yourself in that hole at the most important position on the football field? If we don't see more signs of encouraging play from Dwayne Haskins, or not even just encouraging play, you need to see some high-level quarterbacking over a extended period of time, not just these, maybe he figures it out sort of things. If you're going to be drafted in the top 5 at the most important position on the football field, you can't have these what-ifs. You need some security, and I don't think he's giving you that right now whatsoever.
Well, Mike, is it your opinion that, and some of us on the show feel this way, is it your opinion that Rivera and Scott Turner and the rest of that coaching staff have already seen enough from Dwayne and they're going to move on from him next year, either in free agency or in the draft? What do you think?
I think from what they've seen right now, yes. Again, like I said, if things don't turn around massively, I think they are going to move on to him. And one, because there are a lot of options out there. This is, I think we're at a different point in time than we were probably 8 years ago at the quarterback position, where there's been a lot of influx in talent at the position in the NFL. You have guys like Jameis Winston, who just led the league in passing yards, not being able to find the starting job because so many teams are kind of set at the quarterback position. So there is talent to be had out there. It's another great quarterback class with a lot of guys incoming who could be, franchise-type options and who were, objectively better prospects than Haskins was coming out. So I do think that in today's day and age, you don't need to be, like I said, you don't need to be pigeonholing yourself into a Mitchell Trubisky. You don't need to be locked into a guy hoping he turns it around. There's so many other options out there.
Talking to Mike Renner, lead NFL draft analyst for Pro Football Focus. Let's talk about another guy on this Washington football team. We've been impressed with Antonio Gibson. What did you see from him in college coming out of the draft, and what have you thought thus far?
I loved Antonio Gibson coming out, man. His tape at Memphis was just absurd. And he's a massive dude. I think he was like 227 at the combine, ran a 4.39. And on tape, I mean, he looked like there was no better running back tape in college football last year.
Wow.
The only thing was there was like 33 carries of it. Like he averaged like 10 yards a carry, but it was only on, a number of carries. But the most elusive in terms of a per-touch basis running back in the class by far. It wasn't even close. Well, we were just, kept asking, why the heck didn't we see more of this guy? Why didn't Memphis use him? And they thought he was a wide receiver early on in his career. He only switched to running back his final year at Memphis. And yes, they had, Darrell Henderson, Tony Pollard there before him, taking touches away from him. But, I mean, what I've seen from him there and now what I've seen from him as a rookie in Washington, still elusive. Guys still bounce off of him left and right. I think he's really only scratching the surface of what he could be. And I love that they're getting him more involved in the pass game now, throwing him some screens, because he truly is about as dynamic a weapon as you'll see, just about as dynamic an athlete as you'll see at the running back position. So I think they got a good one there in the third-round pick. And the fact that they didn't have to, waste a high second or even a first like teams like the Chiefs, Lions, other teams did to go up and get a guy in this class and still got someone like Gibson, I think is very encouraging.
All right, so talking about the kids coming out next year, obviously Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields are your top two. Trey Lance of North Dakota State, I know he's got he's been hyped up here a lot this year. I have not been able to see him play. They played last weekend, but I didn't see the game. So talk to me about where you think a team has to be in the draft to get – obviously Lawrence will go one, I would assume, especially if it's the Jets or, Denver or Carolina, one of those teams. But I actually think the Giants too. But after Lawrence, after one, where do you think a team has to be in the draft slots to be able to get, let's just say, Justin Fields?
That's going to depend, I think, a lot on who's there. If you got a team like the Bengals drafting at 2, where they obviously need an offensive tackle, Penei Sewell, the Oregon tackle, is probably the best tackle prospect I've seen in at least about a decade. I think they might just stand pat and go get their offensive tackle and not even trade that spot. And because there is, like I said, so much quarterback talent, there are other options. I don't think you might see these trades up where teams are desperate to go get their guy. So I do think if you're anywhere in the top 5, you can get a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance, one of those three. And I also throw Florida's Kyle Trask and BYU's Zach Wilson. They could be possible first-rounders themselves with how they've played early on this season. But I do think that kind of the trend we've seen in the past couple drafts where teams aren't necessarily trading up and selling the farm to go get quarterbacks, we'll see again this year just because of how many good quarterbacks there are. So I do think that you can probably get, like I said, either Justin Fields or Trey Lance if you're anywhere in the top 5.